Welcome, amazing real estate professionals and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, April 25th, 2019, and this is Mastermind Call number 225. Only thing I want to do, start off with this week, I want to congratulate last week's winner of the week and also apologize for the way I'm about to pronounce his name, Kido Kutla. Kido Kutla in Yellowstone, Montana, got his first set of leads, 20 leads, and got on the phone and got a listing already with his first batch. So congratulations, Kido. You are our winner of the week. We're looking for more. I didn't have a chance to ask Tom and Chad, anything you want to share with the group this week?
So I have booked Probate Mastery for May. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to be out for the next until May 20th. I'm going to be in Nepal completely off grid, so you're in good hands. But I went ahead and booked Probate Mastery, so anyone who's waiting on the next class can go ahead and sign up. I'll get the email out probably. I'll announce it over email, so you'll see that, or you can just go to the education and training page on alltheleads.com and get signed up. If you sign up now, you won't have to wait until it's the day after Labor Day, the 28th, I believe, 28th, 29th, 30th. But if you sign up now, we'll go ahead and send you the recordings from the previous class from last week, and that way you'll have something, you know, between now and the time we schedule we start the live class. So if anyone wants to jump in May Mastery, and sign up is open.
Awesome, and I'll take this opportunity to get. Those of you that don't know, our company supports a couple charities. One of them is the National Hospice Foundation, because it's, you know, what we do. And the other one is a charity that's very near and dear to Chad's heart, where they provide clean water to basically third world countries where people die from because they don't have access to water. So if anybody wants to donate to either of those causes, or that's where Chad's going now, to provide clean water to a whole bunch of people that don't have it. Is it too late for people to make a donation, Chad, or no?
It's not. There's actually, so the donations for this trip are coming through MSR, the company, the Mountain Safety Research. And if you look on, I guess we can drop a link on All the Leads Mastermind. But so far, just through friends and you guys, we've raised enough to bring fresh water to an extra 4,000 kids while we're there. And these are long-term solutions. It's not just a in and out, drop some filters and hope for the best. These are sustainable water solutions, and we're going to be, I train people to ride motorcycles and do journalism on motorcycles. So we're taking motorcycles into villages where you can't reach with other modes of transportation. So we're helping people that have never been helped. So I'll drop a link on the Mastermind page if anybody wants to be part of it. We would be grateful. 100% of money goes to the field, by the way.
Excellent. Well, congrats on doing that. Have a good trip. Come back safe and sound, and we will miss you. So, Tim, I know you just jumped on. Anything you want to share?
Not a thing. No. Let's get to our folks there, and Chad will keep you posted on what's going on with Chad as he travels and he's able to update us. We'll make sure everybody is aware of what kind of trouble he's getting in over there, and we'll get him back safe and sound.
Awesome. Well, we have 4 in the queue, guys. We have room for probably a half a dozen more. Just hit *6 and hit 1. First up this week is my old friend, Joe Lehman, phone number ending in 3172. You're up first this week, Joe.
Yes, I actually have 2 questions here.
Sure.
The first one is, I did the last Probate Mastery course. How do you get the certificate?
They were sent out last week. I'm not sure of the exact day, but you should be seeing it any time now. It will come to the address that you gave us when you signed up.
Okay, excellent. The second one is, I have a conundrum. I have been working my leads. I've got several good possibilities. I had one that I thought I was about to send a listing proposal to. The personal representative is in Michigan. I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. And the personal representative is elderly himself, and he felt like he needed to check with his attorney here. I said, well, that'll be fine. So it ends up that his attorney recommends another agent, and this guy decides to go with that agent. Well, here's my conundrum. This attorney is the one that had 10 of the 48 estates filed in the first set of leads that I got. And I have just gotten in my trifold brochure and my brochure boxes, and so this week, starting this afternoon, actually, I was going to go call on some attorneys. So my question is, I've looked at the MLS records for this particular agent. I was able to get the agent name, and it appears that virtually every sale he's done for the last year has been an estate sale. And I suspect he's getting all the referrals from this particular attorney. It's not like he's done a ton of them. He's done 12. But it seems like, just based on my little digging around, that this attorney and this agent have a standing relationship. So in calling on this attorney, what would be the best approach since I know of this?
Have you looked at each of the 12 listings? Like looked at the photos, the price, the days on market? Like, has he done a good job or a bad job in your opinion?
I haven't looked at them that closely. I did notice that in about half the cases, his sales price to list price was really low.
Which means your days on market is probably really high.
I didn't really dig into it. I haven't printed out and pulled data from each one of the listings.
So here's where I'm going with this. I never believe in dragging your you shouldn't drag your competition through the mud, but you should highlight what they're not doing by showing them it's the things you think are most important. So for example, if their days on market are 90 days on market, but the market median is 20, and they're going from 100% list price down to 80% list price, then we know they're being overpriced and undermarketed, right? Or both.
Yeah.
And that's the most common thing. So when you approach the attorney, just say, listen, I get that most probate attorneys have worked with real estate agents, but we're not coming to you as a real estate agent. We're coming to you as a probate expert. We have a team of people designed specifically to help your clients. Part of that is brokerage, and we have probate-specific systems and processes in place. So our days on market are much shorter, and we achieve a much higher, a much higher realistic price.
Hello?
We lost you for a minute, Chad. You there? Hey, Chad? I can hear him in the background. Sounds like his phone faded out. I'm sure he'll be right back, Joe. I'll add something to that while we're waiting for Chad to come back. Chad has mentioned this several times before. Well, let me ask you, does this attorney do estate planning also? Does he do trusts? Does he set up trusts, or is he strictly probate? Do you know?
I don't know.
Are you back, Chad? Nope, we lost Chad. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I do not know.
Okay, because another approach, and you know where Chad was going with that, oh, you're back, Chad. Go ahead.
Yeah, my earpiece dropped out, and I didn't even notice it. So where did I drop
off? Find out, don't drag your competition through the mud, but look and see, and just point out that, you're doing more than just the real estate end of it. You're going to get top dollar and all the other services you can provide.
Yeah, so the bottom line is just don't point out what they suck at. Just highlight how that's your strong point, as long as you can back that up, of course. And don't take it too personally. If he's had a 20-year relationship with this agent, you may never unseat them. I mean, we have agents that might be on this phone call that have done literally hundreds of transactions with a single attorney because they get comfortable, they have everything they need. So that could be the case, but if you look in the MLS history, the other thing you want to look for is how many of these didn't sell. How many expired probate listings have they had? That was a big motivation for me to get started in Roanoke, in a 12-month back test on MLS, 77% of the probates had expired and were relisted by other agents. It just took longer than it should have. So if you see that, their poor pricing strategy or poor marketing strategy is causing the families, it's prolonging the probate, then you don't necessarily have to drag them through the mud for that, but just show how your process helps accelerate families through the process.
And Chad, when we thought we lost you, I was just also mentioning to Joe, find out most attorneys that do probate also do set up trusts and do estate planning. And Chad has suggested many times before, Joe, you've been around almost as long as me. How many past clients do you have over the last 15 years you've been in the business? How many would you say you have?
Well, I actually had a 14-year break from listing and selling where I did nothing but coaching and training and have been working with Mike. So.
Oh, okay. So I know you were a real estate coach. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just come back to Montgomery and got my license again in October of 2017, and it just sort of cranked back up. So.
Well, you could certainly you could take the same approach and say, I've been an active realtor, real estate trainer for years, and I've coached hundreds of agents. And in the future, would it be okay if I referred some of these people to you for estate planning? The average everybody should have a living trust if you have any assets at all, but only about 5% of Americans do. If he's an attorney that also sets up living trusts, does estate planning, that type of thing, that could be a really good hook, like a quid pro quo. Could I send you referrals in the future? And, I know you have another agent you're working with, but, would you possibly consider, let me prove myself? Give me a chance also.
Right. Should I, in my initial approach, really not give any indication of knowing of this relationship that he's got with his other agent?
I think you'll have to use your discretion. I wouldn't. I would just highlight what I can do, what I think is most important to him, and in the back of your mind, you have a pretty good, once you look at that history, you'll have a pretty good idea of what the struggles might have been, like a prolonged sale and having to ride the price down for 5 weeks to get an offer. Where if he sees it, if you have a track record of getting homes, priced correctly, marketed correctly, and under contract quickly, that's going to strike a chord. So you don't necessarily have to say, compared to who you're working with now, I don't think you don't have to disclose that, because the risk you run is, if they do have a really close personal relationship, the risk you run is, his ego will shut you out as soon as you attack his friend.
Sure. And
another thought, Joe. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
My other thought was, because I'm getting the leads, and every time I get a set of leads, I could go after the ones that have this attorney, and go after them first, and see if I can't just cut them off at the pass.
Sure. You're gonna be doing that anyways. The second your leads come in, you fire mail off, so you should be hopefully beating the other guy to the punch. And anyways,
well, y'all are doing my mailing, so that's good.
And Joe, when you look at your, go ahead, Chad. Finish.
So I was just going to say, depending on how this unfolds, like if you don't get traction with the attorney and you do know that you're just going head to head, you might consider sending a separate letter to those that are assigned to that attorney. And it could be something a little bit more abrupt that says, this, I noticed, this is pretty bold, but if you say, I noticed that your attorney is John Doe, here's the MLS history for every piece of real estate sold through John Doe, and here's the MLS history of my listings for the last 12 months. That's pretty bold, and if that letter gets back to them, you're definitely going to get a phone call. But if you get shut out, that's something that might be effective.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
And Joe, I was going to add, out of your leads every month, how many of them do not have an attorney? Have you noticed?
I only have one set. I'm just starting. So,
were there at least a few of them though that did not have an attorney?
Yes.
Yeah, because you could obviously say, hey, I notice you specialize in working probate. So do I. There were a few leads last month that didn't have an attorney. I wanted to stop by and, and give you their information. You might want to reach out to them. Provide. It's the same thing we teach with our executors. Try to provide value to that attorney. And then finally, I was also thinking, ask them a good question like, I'm sure, you get. Go ahead, Joe.
One-third of them did not have an attorney, 16 out of
There you
28.
go. Okay. Yeah, so that's a great opportunity there. The other thing is ask an open-ended question. Like, I'm sure every month you get things thrown at you that aren't part of your job. What's the most difficult part of it for you? Or maybe ask them a specific question. Do you ever have the sellers call you and say, what do I do with the personal property? And then just show them what you do to help people. Now the other guy may or may not be doing that, but I suspect he probably isn't. A lot of agents don't. So it may be a good way of identifying something you can do better than what the other guy without directly referencing the other guy.
Right.
Make sense?
Yep. Yeah,
All right.
I think my approach is not going to be to tell him I know about his relationship. I'm just going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
All right, buddy. Great job. Good job taking action right away. Appreciate it. We have good job on everybody. We got 6 more in the queue. Great job there. Again, if you want to participate, hit *6 and hit 1. Next up this week is phone number ending in 6677. You're up next.
Hello. My name is Clayton, guys. I actually heard about all the leads yesterday.
Excellent.
I recently got into wholesaling real estate, and I've had a couple of deals, but I heard about this kind of crazy niche called probates, and you guys seem to be kind of the experts in the field. So I have a couple of I have one quick question. I have a couple of leads just that I pulled basically just to test kind of how I do in that world. I do all of my wholesaling deals just by calling people, just by cold calling people, saying, I drove around and I saw your property. But I understand that the probate process is a little bit different, and the situation is a little bit different. Do y'all recommend kind of just calling these people out of the blue? I've watched a couple of your videos as well, Chad, on YouTube, so I kind of have an idea of how to just start approaching it.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate any comments.
Sure. So the phones are definitely your X factor. Direct mail is a really good way to warm that up, and before the phone call. So we recommend send a letter and then follow it with a phone call. Just because the nature of the mail piece we send, it's a greeting card envelope with a live a hand address and a live first-class stamp. So it tends to stick around. Even if they're not ready to go just yet, if they're not ready to speak to somebody, those mail pieces get opened and they get saved. But the phones are, if you're good on the phones already, that's where you'll shine, because most people have call reluctance or they don't have the phone numbers. As far as the approach, the reason we teach what we do is you can get into far more conversations if you can avoid trying to guess the situation by looking at some simple data that you got from the courthouse and just focus on people and situation, and offer, cast a wide net of service. So offer real estate service, personal property service, people service, like helping, find people suitable housing. You never know which one of those hooks they're gonna get first to start the conversation. And then once you have that conversation started, you naturally and quickly segue into real estate. So the challenge with hey, I was, I made a list of properties just from driving around. The challenge is you don't always know what the subject property is in a probate. But 80% plus will own real estate, and the vast majority of them will sell in the first 6 months. But we don't always know exactly what the address is, or where it was, or if it looks vacant, or So sometimes you can get caught in your own, you can get caught and they're like, well, what are you talking about? It's a condo and it was just remodeled, or, there's no way you could know it was vacant just driving by. How did you get my information? And then you've got a confrontation on it. Like, so I find, and I've tried it all, man. Like I used to have driving for dollars sheets. I've ridden every street in this city and written down every house that even looked vacant. I just would take my motorcycle out and do it. So I've done that approach. It doesn't serve you that well in probate unless you know for a fact where the subject property is. So in the interest of scalability, we take a more general approach and offer a variety of services to start the conversation and then quickly narrow that down to a real estate conversation.
Oh, I see. So the approach is not necessarily like, hey, I'm Chad, I'm a real estate agent, or I'm a real estate investor and I'm interested in your house.
That's what everybody else is doing, and that's a good way to fail and get the door slammed in your face. So what's so different about our system, and this is kind of what Jim and I figured out, like if you give them 25 reasons to respond to you, it's kind of like, 7 steps to Kevin Bacon. Like within 7 seconds or 7 minutes, you'll be talking about real estate anyways. But you kind of have to shift your mindset away from what works on other lists. Like if you've done absentee or vacant or, tax liens, you know the specs on the property, you know the situation, you just go right for the jugular. That doesn't work well in probate, especially from a wholesale standpoint, because a lot of times these people are getting those kind of contacts from inexperienced wholesalers who have a really selfish offer that doesn't really help them at all. And our approach is, let me find a way to help you. And in the back of your mind, statistically, there's an 80% chance they have real estate. And if they do, there's a 90% chance they need to sell it like now. And not everybody's going to sell for a wholesale price. But if you focus on people and situation until you've built rapport, then talk about real estate, it's a whole different reception. And I'm going to tell you, man, I've got dozens upon dozens upon dozens of stories of how I did it wrong. But when I started focusing on doing it that way, that's when it all clicked and became fun and easy. So that's the method behind what we teach.
But I heard that you mentioned some type of class or something.
Yeah, so once a month we teach a live course called Probate Mastery, and that comes with a national certification, and it's not investor or realtor specific. I cross-train everyone because if you can lead with empathy and focus on people and situation, you can sell anything in the world or buy anything in the world. And that's really the big focus of Probate Mastery, is to show, regardless of how you're monetizing this, it's what the approach is to get, engaging conversations, turn to appointments, and how to handle the appointments. The next class starts May 28th, but if you want to go ahead and get signed up, we'll send you the recordings from the class we just finished last week, and then you can go through it and then join us for the live sessions toward the end of May.
Okay.
So are you a subscriber yet, or you're still on your own right now?
A subscriber to the email.
All the leads?
No, I'm not. I just did it.
Okay.
I just did it by myself, honestly.
Yeah. So if you go to alltheleads.com, and then in the top menu, you'll see I forget the system. I think complete probate system, and then education and training. I believe it's alltheleads.com /education.
I'm tracking. I hear you.
Yeah. So that's where you can kind of get a summary of the course, look at the course outline, and if you want to sign up, just click the blue button, and we'll get you the recordings before end of business today.
Awesome. Hey, thanks very much, too, Chad, for just walking me through. I know that you just got off the phone with someone who obviously has been doing it a lot longer than I have, and I appreciate you kind of walking me through that.
For sure, man.
Clayton,
We're here for all you guys.
If it's okay with you, I have a feeling one of our salespeople may be calling you soon. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
They'll walk you through the program and explain everything. All right. Well, thanks for participating. We've got about 8 in the queue, guys, so we're going to probably cut the queue off in about 3 or 4 minutes. If you want to hop in, hit *6 and hit 1 now. And then next up is phone number ending in 6116. You're up next.
Hi, this is Cindy McClung, and I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I have been reading online the executor.org, and I was looking at the some of the things that they recommend doing or talk about needing to be done and paying the bills and taking care of all of that kind of financial stuff that's more day-to-day, not the financial planning. Has anyone, do you know of anyone that's doing that, and or how valuable that would be to the personal representative?
So it would certainly be valuable, but I don't know how. It would be a very hard business to manage and scale, and I'm not sure how much you could actually charge for the service. So I'm not sure of the feasibility. It's certainly not something I would recommend if you're just doing it for the real estate commission, because you'll get consumed. If you're doing 2 or 3 probates and shouldering that, you're probably going to be consumed in your own admin work, right? Public administrators they do that for a living, and something you could look into, like to explore this a little closer and further and look a little closer in your market. And they're probably, I think in Arizona they're called public administrators. Like California, it's called a fiduciary. But if you can look for public administrator groups or fiduciary groups in Arizona, and you may have to go to Phoenix. Flagstaff may have their own. Like, you guys are pretty good size, but you can usually pay dues and become part of their group and attend meetings and really learn a lot from them. If there are any companies locally that are offering that, like if that's being offered as a service to the families, then you'll probably hear about it first in that group, because it would be a third party doing it for the public administrator most likely. Most families do take it on themselves to do it. The challenge with having a third party to do it is you would have to be included in the probate proceeding with a limited power of attorney. So you have the authority. You need something to paper the authority from the deceased to the personal representative. The letters of testamentary give them the authority. Now, you need to add a link. If you were to do that service on their behalf, you would have to have probably a limited POA that would allow you to be on the bank account to write checks and deposit checks and things like that. So I don't know how feasible it is as a business. It's certainly a valuable service, but I don't know if you can get it to where it's going to make sense for you.
Okay. Well, I have another company, and it has an accounting department, and we already do trusts for people with disabilities. And I thought this might be a really nice service to offer that you could, get in the door different ways that other people wouldn't.
I think it's a phenomenal idea. And you just have to look at how much time is it going to take us and what is the scope of our work. And I think you need to set boundaries and set proper expectations. So, you can say, we will open a bank, we'll sign a limited power of attorney, open a bank account, make a list of liabilities, make a list of assets, and start to close accounts, and this is what we do. But just be really clear in where your service starts and stops and how you're compensated. And I think in going through that, you'll realize whether or not you can actually make a business, if it's a service that will make business sense. But if you already have that stuff in place, it might for you. I think for most of us, if we're starting from scratch, it probably wouldn't, but it may in your situation. But anyways, assuming it does, it's a hell of a good idea, because it's a service, that's where a lot of the overwhelm comes from. Mm-hmm. And we call it probate quicksand. It just results in human procrastination. So they have never done these things. They're intimidated by the process. They don't know how to get the house emptied. They don't know how to gain access to a safe deposit box. They don't know how to get their name on the bank account. They're just stuck. And some families will just sit there in the probate quicksand and sink deeper and deeper and deeper for months or sometimes even years before they finally have a breakthrough. So a service like that would help move these forward faster. And I'm really curious to learn more as you progress through this and learn more about it. I'm curious to see if you do include it in your service. If you do, please come back and share your model with us.
Okay, I will. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I thought, oh my gosh, if I had to do all of this, this would be the part that would just overwhelm me because there's so much of it. So, okay, well, thank you so much. I will research it further.
Sure.
Excellent. And Chad, I'm just going to come. Go ahead.
Sorry, one last thing that I want you to consider is how you monetize that part of it. As I said, I wouldn't recommend doing all of that work just to earn a real estate commission. I would do it as part, as a third-party service. But think about how you monetize that. And if you structure it the right way, you'll be on the top line of the payout and the final accounting of the court. The very first thing that's paid are administration expenses, and that includes the probate attorney, sometimes the funeral and the cremation, and even like ambulance services, things that haven't been paid that were part of that transition. So just make sure that if you're gonna do all that, talk to a probate attorney or talk to a probate clerk about how you get that in on the final accounting as an administration cost. That way you always get paid.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Excellent. The only thing I was going to add, I think you're spot on with the limited power of attorney. As you know, my wife Pam has done over 2,000 short sales, and it's a very similar situation. That's how they can't sell the property, but the limited power of attorney gives them the right to, execute documents and deal directly with the lenders without having to keep, bothering the owners, the sellers directly. So I'm assuming you're already doing something like that if you're dealing with trust for people, right? You get some kind of limited power of attorney.
You know what? I don't know. This is kind of through the Medicaid services. We do it for people with disabilities, so I don't think it's quite that involved.
Gotcha.
But we are handling the money. We have an accounting department, so it just seemed like, how can we do this? Can we do this?
Sure.
And how can we monetize it?
Awesome. Well, great idea. Please come back and let us know how it turns out. Next up is phone number ending in 0748. You're up next.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. The reason I'm calling is I got my set of leads and I've made my first set of phone calls. And one of the people that I spoke to said that he wasn't ready yet because it's 4 months until his letters of testament. Can you help me to understand?
What market are you in?
San Diego.
Wow, I didn't know they're that far behind. So you're in one of the two places we know of in the country that are backed up. Florida being one of the areas, Southern California being the other. And I didn't realize it was 4 months. So there's not a whole lot that you can do right now because they don't have the authority to sign contracts. What you could do is their intent to sell? Do you know?
He's not sure yet.
Okay. I mean, if they were clear that they wanted to sell, then you could go get a letter of intent signed. So you and your broker could produce this, just a letter of intent to list, basically. And that just, it's not really, it doesn't have any legal weight. It's just the mental commitment that you're after in case someone else comes in and tries to take the business. But the things that you can do right now to build rapport and reinforce that, find any way you can to get in front of them and to help them. So get it, have them look you in the eye and feel your intent and to realize that you're doing the right things for the right reasons. And a good ways to do that are personal property, property maintenance, property preservation. So have you changed the locks? Have you gotten vacant property insurance? Have you had somebody come by and tell you what the personal property is worth? Things like that, like who's mowing the lawn. If you can touch base and kind of go through that, think about all the things that are required to take care of a property that's just sitting, and call and make sure he has all those boxes checked off. And if not, that's your entry point, right? Well, what if me and my lawn guy stop by on Wednesday? Would that be okay? He can take a look, give you a price right there, and hey, it'll be a chance for you and I to actually put a face to a name. And just find at this stage, you can't take paperwork other than just a simple letter of intent. And if they're not clear they want to sell, it might be too soon to even do that. But I would say get in front of them. Like make that your outcome. And whether it's taking a lawn guy over there or taking your estate sale company to give them an appraisal on what the personal property is worth, there are preparatory steps that can be taken. You know, as long as you're not disposing of the assets, you can still inventory the assets, value the assets, put a plan in place. Nothing's wrong with that at all. So if you can help with that, you're going to speed up the process because you'll be getting that work done now versus 4 or 5 months from now. But just show them how you're proactive and find a way to get in front of them to impress them. And chances are they'll sell. And if you've helped them along the way, they're not even going to consider anyone else.
Okay. I have a couple of other questions too from my calls.
Sure.
Is it okay? Okay. So I've some of the people when I would call, they would really quickly just say, "Thanks for calling. We've got it all covered," and just basically got off the phone. Is that somebody that you would just delete from your list, or would you check back with them later, or what would you do in that case?
So what you're getting is 9 times out of 10, that's a false objection. What they're not telling you is we've gotten 100 of these phone calls or 10 of these phone calls, and we're damn sick of it. And they're being polite and saying, we got it handled. We don't need help. Our attorney has it covered. If you go to alltheleads.com, in the top right-hand corner of the website, there's a search bar. And if you put in, we've got it handled, it's handled, attorney has it handled, just keyword, like string keywords like that, that's going to bring up this conversation over and over in role play calls we've had, so you can actually hear how we handle it in a live role play situation. But some of the examples, so humor can work. I mean, you kind of get a read on the person and also consider your own personality, but sometimes humor can work. Empathy goes a really long ways here. Feel, felt, found is a good way to kind of cross their wires and get them to engage in a real conversation. So listen, I understand how you feel. Actually, 9 out of 10 of my best clients told me that. They told me they felt the same way. And what I found out was they were just scared, didn't know where to start, and they were afraid to admit that. That wouldn't be your situation, would it? And you've got to look at your personality type. I mean, that's a more abrupt way to approach it. Sometimes if you feel like you're going to get hung up on, another one is, oh, listen, most of our clients say the same thing. There's an 80% chance you own real estate, so before you hang up on me, there's also a 90% chance it's uninsured unless your attorney has helped you switch the insurance. Has he? And then you get a silence, and what are you talking about? And what I mean by that is most homeowners insurance policies won't cover a vacant structure if it's been vacant for more than 30 days. And it's in the fine print, and you pretty much will only know that if you ever have a loss and you have to file a claim. But and I only learned this because my insurance guy showed me my liability. But things like that it'll interrupt the pattern that they've put themselves in. Because what they're most likely hearing is, they're people calling and going straight for the real estate. And their perception of that is, these sons of bitches are just trying to steal mom's house. And when you call with a different approach, if you can get them to engage, you sometimes have to abruptly, disrupt that pattern. But then once they understand what you do, it'll be a whole different conversation. And I would say that you can turn at least 50% of those into good conversations. The key is don't let off the gas. Continue asking questions until they engage or hang up. And just ask question, layer in value. Ask another good question, layer in some value. But there's several hours of us kind of having this discussion in the role play archives. So just go to that search bar and put in some of those key terms of we've got it handled, our attorney has it handled, things like that.
Okay, I really appreciate that. I've actually used your feel, felt, found in other situations with other clients, and it really made a difference. So thank you so much for that. I have like 1 or 2 more questions.
Come on, go ahead.
Okay, so when I see that the personal representative and the decedent have the same address, is that a cue that it might be a grieving spouse? And what do you do in that case? I mean, do you still call them? And because I've called a few people where it was the same address, and I think it was a grieving spouse, and I think that the call upset them, and so I'm not sure if I should just what I should do in that case. Should I, when I see that, and when
So it does take, and again, like it takes a softer approach, but empathy is key. The best resource I can point you to is a Tips from the Trainer video blog that I did a couple of years ago. If you, in that same search bar in the top right, just type in surviving spouse, and it should be one of the only results that come up. And there's like a 12-minute video of why I contact every single surviving spouse, because I've seen what an impact it can have personally. My very first deal where all this kind of clicked together was that exact situation. And I was told, I'll never sell this house, I'll die in it. And then 60 days later, I was a family hero. And that experience told me that, you know, it's some people are going to misperceive your intent. And that's why you have to have a softer, more empathetic approach. And if someone ever jumps down your throat and tells you you're an ambulance chaser, that's when you need to be clear on your why. And you need to realize they don't know you. It's not you that's being attacked. It's their ego trying to protect them. And do not take it personally. So if you do find a spouse that takes it the wrong way, just say, you know, listen. And here again, feel, felt, found is super effective in that. You can put them in their place and they'll go, oh, well, I didn't think about it that way. But don't shy away from those, because think about it. Those people are oftentimes the ones that need the most help. Just like we were talking about, just the administrative side of handling a probate. Getting access to a safe deposit box, getting your name on the bank account, you know, figuring if it's a surviving spouse situation, what happens when that annuity or life insurance policy they've paid into their whole life, how does that surviving spouse gain access to that? How is their income going to be affected when you know, their partner passes away? How do they get the lawn mowed? Who prunes trees? Who does all this stuff? There's things that they might not have thought about yet because they're so tied up in the emotion of the loss. So you never know what morning they're going to wake up and go, holy shit, I need help. And if you can make a good impression, you'll be the first phone call when that day comes. So it's, you know, reach out, and you don't have to be as direct. You can stay away from the real estate conversation. Just offer to help in any way you can. One day their situation will change and they're going to need help more than ever. And if you've made contact and they trust you, you'll be the one they call. And it could be a week or two down the road. Trust me, I've had a lot of those where, you know, people that will never sell, we're staying here, and then all the grass starts to grow, and, you know, the rains come and the gutters are falling off the house and they just can't keep up with it, and they realize they've got to find a different living situation. And that's when you get the come list me call.
Okay,
does that help?
Yeah, it helps a lot. Thanks. There's one other question. So, and then some of the time I also get, well, we're not going to sell it. We're going to move into it and fix it up. Is that kind of a similar situation, or should I just delete them at that time, or should I check in every so often, or?
Usually those are true. So there's a couple different ways you'll hear that of, oh, we're actually going to rent the property. Okay, great. And then you try to refer them to the property manager on your team. That's one of the spokes in the wheel that you should have, is a good property management company. Okay, listen, I know a lot of families, it's easy to get a house ready to rent. Where I see most people get wrapped up is when it comes time to navigate the paperwork and the legality. And unfortunately, a lot of families who just manage on their own find themselves in some nasty legal situations 12, 13, 14 months from the start. So the least I can do is give you a free meeting with our property management company, so you can actually sit down and understand your options. You're not committed to use them, but you can learn kind of what you're getting yourself into. And if you decide it's simple and you want to do it on your own, that's fine. No, you know, we're not going to charge you for that. So you can still offer them value and get them in front of one of your referral partners. a lot of times what you'll find is they actually will end up not renting the property once they understand the potential liabilities. If they're planning on another family member moving in, a lot of times what I hear is, oh, well, you know, there's my sister's son he's going to buy it and start a mini farm there. Okay, great. So has he got financing lined up? Like, do you know that the family is not wasting time? Because if like, do you know he's qualified and can actually do this? Well, no, I just figured we'd just sell it to him. A lot of times they haven't prepared for that. And just like first-time home buyers, they want to go look at 97 properties before they get pre-qualified. And if you ask them to get pre-qualified, they're offended and they go find another realtor, unless you have a strong leadership, you know, a realtor with strong leadership. So in that case, my suggestion is step in, offer to lead the buyer through the process like you would a first-time home buyer. Prove first that they're qualified. If they are qualified, then help them move forward, and you're not going to get paid, but you put good out in the world and it comes back. If they're not qualified, then the family's plan might change right there. Well, hell, we thought he was going to buy it. So then you're going to be the one standing there that has done all this help to help Junior buy the house. Junior can't buy the house, so now you're the one in line to help someone else buy it, right, as the listing agent. But if they're legitimately moving in and there's no, like, those two scenarios aren't part of it, you can still create some work for your contractor. You know, you can say, okay, well, great. Listen, I know it's incredibly hard to find reliable contractors, especially in this kind of a market and this time of year. Would it be okay if I had Frank come by and give you an estimate? I mean, he does great work for us, and because we give him so much work, he works at lower rates than most remodeling contractors. So if I could save you some money and introduce you to a reputable person, I'd sure like to have the chance. Would you like me to have him give you a call? And then you still have some connection to the family. So if your contractor gets that job and they start on the work and then they decide they're going to put it on the market instead of move in, guess who gets the phone call? So there's different, you know, that's why we don't teach scripts, because these go in so many different directions. But based on what you hear, that's why it's important to have the spoke of a contractor, the spoke of a property manager, you know, each of those people we talked about, and you focus on their situation, ask some questions, and then just find a way to provide value to them. And then if the plan ever changes, you're going to be the one they trust the most.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And for anyone
Very
new
good.
to this conversation, like if you're just hearing this conversation, I know we have new folks on the call every week. This sounds big and intimidating. We're talking about a 2 or 3 minute conversation. And building your team and having all these people, you already know them. So we're not creating a bunch of extra work for you. We're just creating a lot of perceived value for you.
Absolutely. All right, well, we got 4 more in the queue. The queue is now closed. Agatha, you're going to be last today. Next up is phone number ending in 2686. You're up next.
Good morning, Chad. This is Alice and Kevin.
Hey, guys.
We have some great news. We got 2 listings signed and another one on its way. So
let's hear the stories. Come on.
Yeah, so we've been working really hard. We've been making a lot of phone calls, and we still have a lot of the objections. You know, I've got it handled. I'm going to give it to my son or my daughter, or a lot of them, or I'm just not interested. So just wanted to share with you, we're still going at it full blast, and that's the great news that we have to share.
Well, that's great. I want to hear more about the 3, like the ones that are working. So what are you guys finding to be most effective? Like, what did they respond to? What were their biggest problems, and how did you guys engage and earn the listings?
Well, 2 of the people that I talked to, they just said, yeah, I do want to sell, but it's eventually, you know, need to, because one of them's moving out of state. You know, his thing is he needs to have the place where he's going to needs to be ready, so that's coming, you know, in the near future.
He was the surviving spouse.
Right.
Gotcha.
And then the other individual, we had been talking to him. You want to tell him more about that? Yeah.
The other one is his dad recently passed away, and his mom has dementia. So he's more of a POA situation. And Mom moved in with them. They cleaned up the house and everything's ready. And so it was just more of him kind of fixing some stuff up, cleaning it out and stuff, and you know how long that take. And we've had a lot of rain and stuff recently, being the spring. So finally got that to a point, and I had an appraiser come out and appraise the house so I wouldn't have any price issues with him. He was, I don't know where he got his information from, but he, in my opinion, he was about $50,000 too much. So had the appraiser come out, and that way he can be the bearer of bad news for him, and we don't have to. And so we're going on the market this weekend. And we actually went over above and beyond on that one. We always do professional photography, but this time we went ahead and hired a stager to come out and do light staging in the kitchen and baths on our dime. And we actually, my wife and I went over there yesterday, and I took the blower, and she swept up inside. I blew the garage out and the entryway and stuff because his cleaning was not our version of cleaning, and you know, things like that. And you know, it's just something we do. But hopefully that'll sell pretty quick.
Well, good job, guys. So are of these three, how many were initial contact, how many were inbound versus outbound on the phones? Like, were any of them direct responses from the letters, or were they all three on the follow-up phone calls?
No, we're not getting any phone calls off the letters, just to be honest.
Okay. But when you made contact with these three, did they remember your letter or have it?
Yes, they did. They, you know, I've just been staying in touch with them and this and that. When we met with them, you know, we gave them our value proposition, and they were impressed. And so here we are. Like I said, we have 2 signed listing agreements and another one on its way. So we're.
Oh, that's great, guys. And you guys, you're what, 2 months in, or are you on your 3rd month?
Oh, well. All right, we're about, actually we've been doing this for about a year. We signed up with you guys, though, last summer.
Okay.
And we were trying to do it on our own before that, and quickly found out that ain't happening.
I mean, you did Mastery in January, right?
Yes. So in our mind,
I thought you were just getting started then.
Well, yeah. Our story is we sent out a lot of letters and didn't make phone calls.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in January, February timeframe, we kind of finally got to it.
Well, that's great, guys. I mean, hey,
we're still behind.
Your hat is solidly in the ring for win of the week. We got 2 in the bag and 1 on the way.
And by the way, now that you guys are getting on the phone, these leads season very well. If you have the bandwidth or the time, or you have somebody maybe in your office or staff that could do it, go back and call some of the old ones. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that a lot of them probably haven't done anything yet.
That's an interesting thing. Real quick, I also have MLS searches set up for anybody you know, that has a state or, you know, all those keywords in their property descriptions and owner names and stuff. I'll have a report that comes out, and then I'll go double check and find, oh darn, you know, another agent got that one. And it is interesting to see how far back some of these are in our list. You know, they'll go back maybe to August.
Yep.
October, something like that.
Well, I guarantee that if you sit down and called everybody until you spoke to them, like there are some in there that are a year old that still haven't done anything. And one day they'll kind of have that breakthrough moment, and they're going to list with somebody. So Jim made a great suggestion, and we've got a lot of success listing listing houses and even buying houses off lists that are 12, 14, 24 months old. So you may just even, just if you have any downtime in your business, just jump on the phone and start calling the old list. And, 90% of them are going to be, nope, we already dealt with it. But you're looking for that 10% that are still procrastinating. And when you make contact, usually they're more ready than they've ever been. They're just ashamed that they've sat there and done nothing for so long.
Well, let me ask you this. I remember a couple, 2 or 3 months ago, there was something mentioned of a service where you can provide the phone numbers, and it'll leave voicemails without actually ringing.
Yeah, so the one we recommend is it's by Voice Logic, and the product is called Voice Casting. And their VP of sales, his name is Steve Lindo. And if you sign up through Steve, I think they give you 500 free minutes for being an All the Leads customer. But the one thing I would say, Kevin, and I know you'll give this its due diligence, but just make sure you understand TCPA, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, before you jump into a ringless voicemail campaign. Just know your liability. It's been really effective for a lot of us, but there is over 50% of phone calls coming through the grid right now are robo-dials. And I think probably the lifespan of a service like that is going to be limited because, like, I know that the FTC and the FCC they've basically they've put the phone companies on warning that they're going to crack down on them if they don't figure it out. So just like in the 90s, how we had the tech companies had to figure out email filters, now the phone companies are doing the same thing. So it's still effective. Just understand your risks with TCPA, understand your compliance, and know that, sooner than later it's going to stop working, most likely.
Yeah, you're right.
Chad,
All right, congrats, guys. Well, you're solidly in first place for Winner of the Week. We really appreciate the great story.
I have one more question for Chad.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sure.
Okay, Chad, how would you handle this? I had a lady yesterday that said, I want to sell, but I can't get my kids out.
Okay, the first thing I would say is, well, tell me more. What do you mean by you can't get them out?
Okay.
So I would continue to, you need to understand the situation. Are the kids paying rent? Is there a lease in place? Does your state law, how does your state handle holdover tenancy? Usually the easiest way to get a squatter to move out of a house is show up with cash or pay for their moving truck or find them suitable housing, like find them a better living situation.
I think in this situation, they're still living with her in the house.
Oh, well then she needs to move out and quit paying utility bills, and they'll be gone. Is her plan to move?
That's what I understood. When I spoke to her, she said, I want to move, but I can't get my kids to get out.
Okay. Well, I would take the approach of a family meeting. I would want to have the kids present, and I want to give them a voice, because otherwise they're gonna turn against her and you. So I would say, listen, when's a good time that we can all just sit down and talk? And we can just talk through the options. Before I say anything, I want you guys to tell me what your desired outcome is. I'm assuming that if we could improve the living situation for each of you, everyone would be okay moving, right? Okay, great. Well, tell me what's important to you, and tell me what's important to you. What's your situation? How much money do you make each month? And what you might find is just sitting down and giving them all a voice and saying, well, hey guys, listen, there's some great rentals. Let's go look at them tomorrow. And you could go get them into a rental and take the rental finder's fee, and that might be all it takes. Or they could be total losers that are just trying to ride mom's coattail for their whole life, and she's going to have to deal with that. But until you really get there and understand the situation, it's hard to know what exactly to do. But if they have mental disabilities, if they're low income, you can connect them with the housing authority, with social workers, with behavioral health care companies. There are a lot of social programs out there that help with housing. And I actually just had lunch with a gentleman. He's 85 years old. I just took him to brunch And he's a guy that I met this way. I was helping him find more suitable housing because he was about to make himself homeless over emotional overreaction. And I have gotten to know half the social workers in this city because of Paul. But so they're if you can understand the situation, then you can see the solution. But I would recommend try to include them all and be part of the conversation so you understand the relationship dynamic. Because a lot of times we're only hearing one side of the story. And when it comes to housing, that can be a dangerous position because if you get convinced that the kids are bad and the mom is right and you boot them out, maybe you make their situation way worse and you didn't hear their side of the story. That's why I suggest you just kind of try to keep everybody involved unless it starts to spiral out of control. Then at the end of the day, mom's a decision maker and she can do what she wants with the house. So just try to get a better read on the situation. And if you need help, like after you do that, if you need help trying to figure out what the options are, you can call our main phone number at any time, and I'm going to be in the Himalayas. You probably won't reach me, but Jim can certainly help you out.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, great. Guys, obviously we're going to probably go 10 or 15 minutes over on this call. We've got three more in the queue. It looks like one just signed in, phone number ending in 6329. We'll have to probably deal with you offline because we want to try to get this wrapped up by 2:15 at the latest. Next up is phone number ending in 0505. You're up next.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Mr. Gigi, how are you, sir?
I am doing absolutely phenomenal, man. How you guys doing?
Never better.
All right, man. I just want to tell you thank you for kind of welcoming me on this. I'm a late bloomer. I've actually got probably 2 months worth of leads from you guys, man. I haven't got started, due to, man, I had to train my VA on other things that's going on in my business. And I said, man, let me try to hop on this call, see what it's about, what they do, what they don't do, things like that. And so far, just listening in, you probably answered a chunk of the questions that I thought I needed to
ask. Awesome, buddy.
Imagine,
well, keep coming back.
Imagine if you listened to the other 500 hours, Gigi.
Wow, yeah, I sat back and I'm listening to it like, wow. And then so, I talked to, is it Jim?
Yeah.
Is it Jim?
Yep, that was me.
Okay, yeah. So I think I talked to your daughter, and your daughter was telling me, yeah, get on the line. They're always on the line from this time to this time. And so I got like a army flood of emails, just like nothing but help on her. But I just never, yeah, man, you guys, like, when you join, like, hey, you guys, like, hit it just, and they're not spam. It's just pure emails. It's 100% pure emails in the inbox. And so, I just kind of late bloomed, because I've actually, started a new marketing channel for myself and everything. And then, of course, I just trained my VA, and I'm kind of happy about her. She actually did a lot of phone calls for me today, just getting started, through my auto dollar system, but we're doing pretty good. It's just the leads. I'm probably going to go ahead and start working on these effective Friday this afternoon. And that's why I said, hey, I can't just go ahead and just put these off to the curb. So I might as well get on a mastermind call of some sort and actually see what these guys have in mind and what they're talking about.
Come back and share your successes and come on and say nice things about us anytime you want. We appreciate it.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. So, yeah,
All right.
Gigi, I just want to make sure that you and your VA have found the archive where these calls live. Do you know how to get to those?
I went on to the next person already. Why don't you go ahead and tell him, Chad?
Well, we'll just tell him anyway. Yeah. So if you're on alltheleads.com, if you look under the system and then education and training, there's a conference call video archive. The URL is alltheleads.com/CCVA, conference call video archive. But there we have like right at 500 hours of these conversations, as well as something like 40 some hours of role play, or 30 some hours. But anyways, there's a lot of resources there like this for you and your VA to get up to speed really quickly if you haven't found that.
Awesome. Our second to last person this week is phone number ending in 5530. You're up next.
Hi. I know you guys are trying to wrap up, so I'm going to make it quick.
That's okay. No, we don't. We got all the time you want. Go ahead.
All right. So my name is Rebecca, and I am in Saratoga Springs, New York. I'm a brand new real estate agent. I just got my license in October, but I didn't actively start working until February, and I signed up for all the leads pretty quickly, and I just got my first batch of leads in late April, and I completed the April mastery class. And my question is, knowing all of this, what would be the best way for me to market myself when I don't actually have listing history? I did put together a marketing plan. You guys are doing my letters for me. I have a website, but I don't, I have a team of resources, but I don't actually have a proven record to demonstrate to people. And I guess I know that this has probably been answered before, so I apologize, but I'm just looking for any tips and suggestions for somebody who's not just brand new to probate leads, but pretty new to real estate in general.
Sure.
So people trust confidence, and objections come about when there's doubt, right? So I doubt you're right, or I doubt you're credible, or I doubt you have experience. But with confident people, the people tend to follow your leadership. So as I said in the beginning of Probate Mastery, if there's any one gift I could give all of you guys, it would be confidence, because that's all it takes. If you have an empathetic heart and you're confident in your delivery, these folks need help, but they want help from people who are confident, not people who have marble mouth and aren't sure. So the first thing I would say is get your own mindset right. You don't have to be, you don't have to have 100 deals behind you to be an expert in this space. You stepped up. You've learned a ton about this. I'm sure you feel confident about your knowledge about the process, right? you took mastery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so we all have that little voice in our head that's so torturous to us. Tell her to shut up, and don't let her tell you that you can't do this. And this was in our first year. We had a girl come on to a mastermind call before we even had Win of the Week, and she had listed 5 houses that week from one Thursday to the next. It was her first week, and we thought as a probate subscriber. Jim said, "Tammy, that's amazing. Have you ever listed 5 houses in a week before?" And she's like, "I just got my real estate license 17 days ago." And this is in Boise, Idaho. And then the next Thursday she came back with 2 more listings. She had listed 7 properties in 7 days and made over, I forget the commit, I think it was like $74,000 in GCI in a week. And it was her first 7 listings. So it's because she had the right mindset. She was offering out with a genuine offer to help, and she was confident because she had these calls and she knew we had her back. And I tell people this all the time, especially for you too, you're in our Probate Mastery group. You can fall back on our experience. You can say, I'm a certified probate expert, and I work with some of the top people in the country. And there's someone on my team that has handled everything that could possibly be a challenge to you. And pull from that experience. You're part of the group, so use our stories. Borrow some of my stories. But you don't have to. And I think a lot of people think that they're not going to question you on how many deals you've done or anything like that. As long as you control the conversation and focus on them and finding ways to provide value and keep asking good questions, they're not going to revert to those, a lot of those questions that people find themselves getting asked, how did you get my phone number? How long you been in business? When did you get your license? Where's your office? Those are bullshit questions because you're allowing space in your conversation. It's oh, weather's nice today, huh? Or how about that president? It's just we revert to that to fill social awkwardness. And if you don't allow social awkwardness into your conversation, if you keep control and keep it moving forward, you'll never have to answer those questions.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
Excellent.
That's kind of what I thought you were going to say. Yeah, I've been listening in on the calls, and it's just always good to kind of have a good refresher. But yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Everything you guys are doing is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Last up, go ahead.
7 more days. Bring back your Win of the Week next week.
I know. You got it.
The record to beat is 7 properties in a week, so you got to come with 8.
Try my hardest.
No pressure. All right, guys, we have last up this week is phone number ending in 6512. We do have 2 people that jumped in the queue too late, and I will call both of you back personally after the call's over. But the last one active in the queue this week is phone number ending in 6512. You're up next.
Hi guys, thanks so much for everything you do. It's really good information. One quick question. I hear you guys mentioned several times not using scripts, and so I'm having a readjustment period because I'm very Mike Ferry, which everything is scripted. So I do have a question. I'm not asking for a script, but one of the things that you had mentioned that I keep hearing, you mentioned what's been the most difficult thing for you as one of the questions that seems to be like a cornerstone sort of. Do you have another 2 or 3 that I can kind of keep in the back of my mind to sort of weave in if, just to kind of keep the conversation going?
Sure. So you can, and do you know how to find the archived role play calls?
I think so. I've played around on
And
on
if you, I'll give you a shortcut. If you go to the search bar in the top right, just put in initial conversation. That'll bring up all the role plays where we started from the very beginning and moved forward. And that'll help you see how we get into these conversations and some of the questions we use. But, and I use all kinds of different ones, but, what's been the toughest thing for you guys so far? Or, we find that all families kind of have unique situations. Like if there's one thing that you could get off of your plate and delegate, what would that be? There's so it's just and honestly, like you can start to put your own together as you feel these conversations out. I tell most people it only takes 10 phone calls until this, like if you're getting it right, until this really becomes kind of second nature and fun and easy, and you'll never even feel that script not being there, because you'll be like, oh man, I know exactly what to ask this person next. Yeah. Like I know where they're going, right? And then it becomes a fun, engaging conversation that you just can't wait to have, right? So, But those are good ones. Like, what if there's one thing you can get off your plate, what would it be? Other things, like if you want to be a little more direct, you can say, well, listen, I would say 9 out of 10 folks that we talk to, their biggest stressor is real estate. So let's start there. Is there any real estate in the estate, and is there a plan for that? And that's more direct, like we're getting right to the real estate, which doesn't work in most situations, but if you feel like this person, you'll feel it out. You'll know when to use that question. Okay.
And Chad, kind of a variation of that might be a little less direct would be, many folks find, they're 1,000 miles away and they got a house full of stuff. Is there any stuff in the house you need help getting rid of? That's a good variation of it that is a little less real estate related, but it is the number one problem most people have.
Right. Okay.
All right, that help?
Thank you. Yep. Yes, very much. Thank you so much.
All right. Awesome job, guys. Thank you so much. Chad, bon voyage. I want to end these calls by the way that I always do, by thanking everybody for being here. You took 1 hour and 15 minutes out of your week to be here. We thank you for being here. We especially thank those that participated actively. And I want to challenge each of you. We had some great ideas, some really good wins this week. Take one thought, one idea, one thing that inspired you on this call. Go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday.